Cancers, hello, hello, my loves. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. I hope that y'all are doing well. Cancers. We have the bardo and the poet, the healer and the lover. I mean, love that energy because the bardo is the idea of the in between, right? The mini, well, I think like technically it's like the in between state between the dream world and the reality and the many perceptions that are available accordingly. But like also it just kind of reads through to me as the many perceptions that kind of make up the sum total of one, right? I was having a conversation with somebody today and there's been all this drama going on and so I finally had an opportunity to talk to this person. And I was like, so, like, how are you feeling about everything? And, they kind of shared with me, but every statement that they started with, well, their perception is this. And this person's perception is this. And my perception is this. And it's all perception. And, like, da da da. And I was like, God, I have so much fucking respect for you, But again, the beauty that you can uncover when you realize that there's so much to every single and we are all interconnected, right? I don't know. I think it's beautiful and it like whatever. So anyways, there's the lover and the healer and cancers, we are healers by nature, but I just feel like there is such a healing power behind love. And I feel like we are opening ourselves to love because we are opening ourselves to the experience of the perspectives of many within the idea of love because it's not uncommon. We're very like id driven people, right? And so it's just kind of the idea that when you can see the beauty of everything, it I feel like it heals and it cleanses and it creates a beautiful story, you know? The kind of story you can tell your grandkids. Okay, Cancer. Let's see what else we can get for us. Because that's a super generic way to start. Okay. The Eight of Cups, the King of Wands, Eight of Pentacles. Yikes. And a couple of stacks. Well, I'm not going to take that one. That one's too big. I'll do this one though. Okay, let's see. Well, I suppose we'll start with the Eight of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups because, I mean, it's just this idea of manipulation and lack. But here's the thing, right? Like, there's all this drama going around and everybody can recognize the fact that, like, perception is everything. And yes, it is. And the thing is that when you actually okay, because like I want to class that, right? Perception is everything until you've gathered all the perceptions. And then you are able to sort through those perceptions to see where the truth is, like the actual truth, like the big T truth, right? Alithia style truth. And I feel like what's happening is there's an understanding that is coming into be that I think recognizes a behavior, recognizes a like a perception, recognizes an experience. And I think when you can sincerely see something from somebody else's eyes and not dismiss them and not justify it, but genuinely stand in their shoes and see it from their side of the story, then the story is full. And you're able to uncover the good and the bad and the perceptions and the realities, And I just kind of feel like it's time to really start dealing with, I feel like a sorting through the perceptions, right? I feel like even today has been like a huge step in that direction. And, what a blessed time. But I just think that there is an idea of really, I just kind of feel like, I mean, I know that strength a lot of times is such a a trying card because you're like, what do I have to have strength for now? Because Lord knows, whatever it's going to be, if it's going to require me to have strength, it's going to be difficult, right? But I don't feel like this is the idea of you having to like muster the strength. I feel like with each cleared perspective, it feels like the load gets lighter. The weight gets lighter. Because you do physically carry energy in your body, and you do physically carry, you are physiologically affected by energy, right? That's like the whole mentality of like the tear test. You know, like they can tell if your tears are happy or if your tears are joyful, and that affects your body, which affects your emotional state, which affects all of these things. So is it real to experience anxiety and depression and all of those things? Absolutely it is. Like you're physically, your body changes according to those things, you know? But I think that when you address them, like the things that cause the fog, that bring the weight, that result in the effects, emotional effects, you know, like on your mental health, on your physical health, you know, on your spiritual well-being, like it's all real and it's all affected, and working with that in your body helps to relieve those pains and those traumas that we carry, right? So say you have this drama and, you know, like slowly you start to have conversations with people, right? Like I feel like for me over this past however long amount of time, you know, like how I've healed a lot of the relationships, whether it's with my kids or, you know, my father or, you know, like falling outs that I've had with friends. I think that it always results in my ability to see things from their perspective and see them from my perspective and find that middle ground. You know, it's that ability to see. And I feel like every time you see that, like that the weights are lifted and the weights are lifted, and every time that weight is lifted, everything starts to feel a little less difficult for you. You're able to start, I think, uncovering the like the hidden messages, but like within the poetry of your story. You know, because we all have our own story, and all of our stories have Easter eggs in them for us, right? There was this woman that I was in small groups with a gazillion and 10 years ago, but I adored her. And anytime something that was like a synchronicity would occur, she would always say, "That's a God wink. You know, it's God just winking at you and saying, hey, I'm looking out for you and I'm here and I'm involved in this story." You know, and I just kind of feel like we've all had our God winks along the way. And, you know, those reminders that say to us, you know, like you're not in this alone because you're backed by the universe. Because when you came into this story, you came into this story on purpose, you know, and when you came into this story, you came because you wanted to be able to uncover like the heart of the story, right? And I just feel like Cancers, that's what we're doing. We're uncovering the heart of a story, and we're piecing together the many perceptions and the many experiences that people have had. And I think honoring those perceptions and those experiences while simultaneously recognizing that like that is a perception and an experience, and therefore it's not like a solid reality, and so it's very malleable. Ultimately in the end, it's an easy thing to heal. And I feel like that's what's happening. And I feel like it's healing you in terms of community in a lot of ways. You know, I feel like there is this sense of, if I can find the beauty in the story, if I can pull the perceptions and pull the perspectives and understand that, you know, like maybe you got lost lost down a, like a storyline. And I know for a lot of us, that's been the case. We've been spending all of this time sorting through all of the many versions of us, all of the identities, understanding what it means to hold boundaries, understanding what it means to people please, understanding what it means to naturally embody things that can be pushed into an arena of people pleasing, right? Because our bad qualities are the shadow of our good qualities, right? So we just have to, like, the quality that we embody in and of itself is not a negative quality. It's how we use that quality that impacts the way that it affects us, right? It's kind of like that choose your character, like which story do you decide, and you could decide. And I feel like what you're deciding is to bring healing, because I feel like there's just, there's love, there's community, there's action toward it, because, you know, community really does count for a lot. And in the end, when it all amounts to the people that you're around, because it doesn't matter what organization you're affiliated with. I mean, truly, there's corruption in all of it. They all kind of get streamlined in one direction or another. And, like, you can lose yourself in any of them. And if you're not of the mentality that I want to lose myself in something, like to identify myself with it, but I want to be in a community of people who are just healthy, just like healthy people who are, I don't know, just like feeding off the system, feeding off each other, feeding their insecurities, feeding their egos. It's just kind of like, that's so draining and it's so unhealthy. And I think that maybe for a lot of us, there's been this, maybe those are some of the things that we're going to be, like addressing, because there's just been a lot. But I think that, I feel like when we pull back the layers, there's just so much beauty to be found. And being surrounded with like a good, healthy community. And Cancers, I feel like that's what we're doing, And I love that. That's so funny. The Ace of Swords is the only card that was face up. I went to shuffle these, but it fits because I do feel like there is an element of truth. Well, I mean, when you think about analyzing poetry, and, like when you read the poem the first time, like you might get one part of it, but then when you go back and you reread it and like contextualize and do all of the things, that are embodied with analyzing, there's a new truth because there's a fullness to the story, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know why, I'm just thinking of those movies where like they're always like interconnectivity movies. I could not tell you the name of one. Maybe Crash. Maybe that one was one. I don't know. It's a long time since I've seen that movie. But like where there are all of these different storylines. Love Actually, that's one, right? So there are all of these different storylines. And then in the end of the movie, you see how they all kind of are connected to one another and how they all impact one another. And I don't know, I feel like that's what's happening. It's almost like this, all of these separate stories were being told. And now all of these stories are coming into like the realm of one story. We're just living in Storyland. What's my favorite? Okay, Cancers. Sorry, y'all. Let me focus. Okay. Okay. So the Five of Pentacles, the World, Shadow Dance, the Three of Cups, the Knight of Swords, and the Eight of Wands. Well, again, what's coming to an end is I feel like when all of these stories are separate, there feels like this sense of like being left out of a story, like excluded from a story somehow. And I just kind of feel like there's this sense of like the story of the collective, like nobody is excluded from the story of the collective. You know what I mean? Like that's just not even, I mean, I suppose you could take it in terms of like, well, how big is my role in that story and how far down the line is my story? But that seems like somebody else's problem. I just think that you you've heard the call. You've spotted the direction that you want to go in, and I feel like there's celebration that comes on the heels of this direction that you decide to take, because I just think that, I don't know, I just like light bulbs, and an understanding and a whole story. And I feel like when you can get a whole story, however that plays out for you, because again, it will be different for all of us, but I feel like whenever there's this idea of like getting your whole story, there's an ability to move on to the next one, the next series, the next, all of the things. The devil again, y'all, we got the devil 2 times. Some of us could be dealing with Capricorns, but really and truly, again, I just feel like it's this idea of exclusion, exclusion of your story, exclusion of your perspective. Right? A lot of us have been kind of like fighting for our voice in a lot of ways. Sometimes we're fighting with ourselves, like it's not even necessarily that it's a battle with other people. It is oftentimes a battle. I mean, everything always comes back to self, right? There's no arguing that. There's no getting around it. And yet, there are plenty of times in life where we can feel like, and yet, where is my voice truly? But again, I think also that boils down to community. And I think that Cancers, we're moving into a community that's a lot healthier, that's a lot more aware of the idea of perception, conscious of, the reality that not everyone wants to be just like them, but recognizing the benefits that you both, like offer. I mean, whether that's at work, and you're like, you just love the people, and you're just like, like I don't want to be a part of it, but like also I respect it, and as long as you're cool with that, we're good. You know what I mean? And just kind of like bringing healing to the idea of having to turn around and walk away, because people can recognize your perception, because you can recognize other people's perceptions. There's a lot of healing when you finish the story and you allow for it to have a proper ending. You have to finish the first book before you can start the second one. Right? And Cancers, I feel like that's what we're doing. Like we're finishing that book, that chapter in our lives. Well, I feel like it's a whole damn book, probably a whole fucking series for a lot of us. But we're bringing that series to an end. And there's just something very like in the end when you really like you've just fallen in love with all of the characters, and all of the storylines that had their climax and their, like dramatic endings, or, whatever, dramatic beginnings, anticlimactic experiences, however it plays out for us, because I'm sure we've had all of it, because what is life if not a collection of experiences? But I think that we are healing that. I think we're healing that by, like honoring the process, honoring the perspectives, honoring ourselves, surrounding ourselves with healthy communities, that support us in the things that we do. And I just, I think that's so wonderful and so beautiful. And Cancers, you do have the Eight of Wands and the Six of Pentacles. So I do kind of feel like whatever this decision is that you're making, I feel like you're like, okay, like I needed to make that decision, or I needed to have that conversation, or I needed to, do X, Y, and Z. I needed to get these things lined up. I needed to, what? Get that situated. I needed to get this situated. I mean, there are so many things that we could, how that, like ways in which that could resonate for us. But I really do feel like there's just kind of like this wrapping up of something that, well, because I think of like straightening the house before you leave. I just, like you just have to straighten it all. I don't know. I prefer to come home to a house that is together, like, and clean. I don't like for things to get really messy. So, like that's what I do before I leave, but I just kind of feel like this idea of like tidying things up, getting everything ready, and then going to do that next thing, because that next thing for us is just, I don't know, I feel a sense of preparedness, if for no other reason than I've completed. It's like going to a book club meeting and you didn't read the book, but it's like, no, I've read the book. I know the story. I know the characters, like I've gone to the book club. I've discussed all of the things, and now I'm going to go to that next series. And now I'm excited for this next series, because this next series I think is like the after I've released this identity. After I put in all this work to figure out who the fuck I am, and why do I feel the way I feel about things, and how do I make sure that I'm honoring myself, and my journey and my path, and I feel like that's exactly what we're doing, Cancers. Like we are like, no, I know the direction that I want to go. I know why I want to go that way. And I've followed all of the winks that, God sent my way, and I trusted. And because I did that, I'm healing my heart, and yay, because Cancers, we are very loving, nurturing people by nature, you want to take care of the people you love, and I think you want to continue to create. But I think as you create moving forward, I think you want to foster creations in healthy communities and loving relationships. And I feel like that's exactly what we're doing. And I fucking love that for us. So Cancers, if this does resonate with you, please do give me a like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your energy with me. And I will see y'all again soon. Bye.